right. Monday night. And if I can't have I Dream of Jeannie as a guest, I'm going to have to bring Andy Sabisch. Welcome to Detect America. I'm your only host, it appears. I don't know how long I'm going to be your only host. But if I could get Jeannie as a co-host, not a bad idea. Probably get more viewers. Andy, how many viewers do you think I would have if I had Jeannie as a co-host?
Well, Barbara Eden there popping out of the bottle, you probably have plenty of people.
Yeah, people would actually start to like me. They would talk to me. Good evening, my friend. It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us. I know your life is rather busy right now. You're in the midst of moving. You're between Mississippi and Pennsylvania. And it can't be easy, can it?
No, it's a challenge. I mean, I've got to give my wife Charlene credit. I mean, she's holding down the fort up there, dealing with selling the house, dealing with getting rid of some rental properties and getting the movers in. And it's just a lot of, I mean, she's doing a lot. Plus she's got 4 dogs to deal with. So.
Yeah. And just before the show, you had a big party going on. Where'd everybody go? I mean, that was an amazing party you were having.
Yeah, you're going to get me in trouble. Now my wife's going to.
You know, I would never try and do that to you, buddy. Never. So before we move on, I just want to tell you, Frank was supposed to come on. I think he's not feeling a little well, so he can't make it. So he wanted to put someone who could handle the show and take control and do a real good job. So he had Andy come on. All right. I recently, this is funny. I was recently in Texas. Okay. Now, I probably did what most metal detectors try not to do. My wife said one day, she goes, let's take a ride and just go and find a little creaky town in Texas and have lunch and everything. And I was like, all right, you know what? We will. Now this was the day before I was supposed to leave. So we drive an hour and we find a little town called Munster, Texas, Munster, something like that. Find a nice little diner to have lunch in, and we really thought it was nice because all the folks in there were down home Texas people with the accents, and we had a nice little country lunch. And what we really saw was really amazing. I've never seen anything like it. The wind vanes, is that what they're called? The wind fans? What are they?
Yeah, the wind turbines. Wind
turbines. Hundreds and hundreds of them out there. It was amazing to see. So we're getting ready to leave, and I go to put gas in my brother's car, and I would go to the bathroom in the little convenience gas store there. Okay. And we fill up our gas tank, and we're done. We're going. We're out of there. We're out of Munster. We go home, and I'll tell you what, I don't remember how much longer it was, but I'm sitting there on the couch, and I went, son of a gun, my rings are missing. Son of a gun, my rings are missing. And I was like, and it's funny because I had found both of those rings metal detecting, and they fit me, and I was liking wearing them. So I said, what are the odds? I said, I don't know. I didn't even know where I put them, but I figured I went to the bathroom there. I call the store, and they say, we have your rings. And I said, that's really, really good, except we're leaving tomorrow, and I don't have the time to drive there. I said, just hold on to them. I'll let you know what we're going to do. Okay, so long story short, a couple of days ago, I called and I said, listen, you still got my rings, right? Guy says, we got your rings, no problem. I said, all right, someone's going to come in to get my rings. Don't worry, they're going to say they're picking rings up for Steve, so you don't have to worry about identifying them because no one's going to walk in without. So out of the blue today, I get a phone call from my brother. He says, yeah, I went to get your rings. He goes, but they only had one. They only had one. What are you talking about? He goes, yeah. He goes, I only have one, and it was like the tungsten wedding band I wear, and the other was a silver ring with a big brown stone on it. He goes, well, the manager said one of the employees was wearing it, and he left the store and was working at another store. I went, what? Are you kidding me? Right? Why is someone else wearing my jewelry? Number one, and why did they leave with it? So he goes, yeah, and the manager wanted me to wait while he went and got it. I was like, he's like, no, like we're like an hour away. My brother's not going to sit there and wait. So I get on the phone with the manager, and I just started out innocently, but he tells me that the guy is wearing the ring and he left the store. And I said, not for nothing, but isn't that theft? No, he didn't steal it. This is the part that kind of like changes my demeanor, because I'm like, let me ask you a question. It wasn't his to touch, right? No, he knew it wasn't his, right? Right. And he took it and left the store with it, right? Yeah, but he didn't steal it. Well, now here we go. And the guy was nice. They were great for what they did. They got my rings back. They held on to them. I was really appreciative, until this guy's trying to tell me that, he goes, I'm gonna get your rings and I'm gonna mail them back. Well, they're not in his hand when he's saying that. So I'm like, what's going to happen if you call this guy and he says he lost it? Well, that won't happen. I said, no. And I didn't think a guy would be wearing my ring and leave the store with it. So, what you're telling me is pretty crazy. So I may have gotten a little bit loud, just a couple extra decibels. And
I can't imagine that.
No, I can't imagine. Just my question was, why? If the guy was wearing it around the store, and my brother said, hey, this guy was wearing it when I got there, I might not have cared. I don't care, but he took it away and I may not get it back. So I hang up the phone. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not going to sit here and wait for this thing to be mailed back to me, which it may never be mailed. So I called the Munster Police Department, and it was weird because I looked online and there was like only 4 officers, a chief, a detective, and 2 other officers. So I'm starting to think that this really is a small town. So I wound up calling the chief, and he answered the phone. And I said, Chief, I'm really sorry to bother you with this. I said, but blah, 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 blah. I told him the story, and he goes, the guy's wearing it? He goes, that sounds pretty weird. But the chief agreed to go over and take possession of the ring when he could and mail it to me. So I was like, you know what? I appreciate that. And not much long after, the phone rings, and it's the gentleman from the store. He says, I've got your ring. I said, you do? I said, I appreciate, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate it. I said, but I got to tell you something. I said, I wound up calling the police chief, and he's going to come get the ring. And the guy was pretty cool with that. I said, listen, it's all good. You got it back. I'm happy. I'm not here to make waves. Just want to get my ring back. And the chief wound up texting me saying he had the ring and he's going to mail it back to me, and all should be. And I trust the chief, So how many times do we as detectorists lose rings that we know people lose jewelry all the time?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of funny. But I was like, what? Someone's wearing my ring? I don't know.
Well, I tell you, years, probably 20 years ago, I was water hunting with a friend of mine from New Jersey, my hunting partner. We were over in a lake in Pennsylvania, and we're getting ready. He drove over. I would drive one time, he would drive the next. So he drove over, getting our tanks and everything on, get out of the water, taking our tanks and everything on. And I said, hey, give me the keys. Let me put them in the trunk. And he starts feeling around. He's opening his wetsuit up. He goes, you're not going to believe this. I lost the keys in the water. So we wound up putting our tanks back on.
Everything back on.
And go out there, and thank God we met where he was. We found the keys, but it was like 2 hours.
Delay, right?
We're going to be stuck here.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people probably have stories of how they locked the keys in the car. I one time in Atlantic City, I left my cell phone on the back of the car, and it disappeared. and the guy called I just wanted my phone back. I was going to give him money for it. And he called and something happened. And my wife answered or something. He wound up hanging up on her and I never heard from him again and I lost it. So, I mean, we lose things just as much as everyone else does, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Hey, how about some people, especially Frank, leaving metal detecting stuff on the back of their truck, their tailgate, whatever they might have, and drive away, and then it's gone. I've heard stories of people leaving their equipment on the beach and somehow they get it back.
Well, I'll tell you, back in the 70s when I lived in New York, there was a friend of mine that ran Magnum detector cells out of Garnable, New York, good friend of mine years and years and years ago. So we went up, we were hunting Bear Mountain State Park. We were kind of one of the first groups that were in there. And we were there all day. And, we're all pretty well beat. He gets out, we're all talking and showing each other what we found. And we get in the cars and we leave. Well, he gets home and realized that he left his detector and his bag and everything on the ground, got in the car and left. So he jumps in the car, drives back up there, and of course the metal detector is not there. So 2 weeks later, a guy walks into the shop, says, "Hey, I got a metal detector. Can you show me how to use it?"
Oh my God.
And it had Don's name on the bag. So needless to say, he got his machine back. I'm surprised the guy was able to walk out in one piece.
I would have been a little mad at that too. I don't know. Yeah, because then I'm sure the guy's like, "Well, I just found it. I didn't know how to find anybody," and there's the name on it. But other than that, everything's going well. You're doing good. I mean,
yeah, we went through the deep freeze down here in the south. I mean, I know Florida, the iguanas were flying out of the trees.
Yeah,
they were. I think the Florida hunt was super cold. I mean,
it was chilly. I was there. It was chilly. We had a good time. It wasn't the worst because it was cold in the morning when we woke up, but it warmed up. We had a great time. I saw a lot of people I missed, and I do want to say our deepest sympathy goes out to the Hoover family. Mark, his wife Gail passed away. She was one of the nicest ladies in the world. I see everybody reaching out and nothing but great things being said. And I'm sure it's a tough time for Mark. And I know he's got a lot of support. So we're just, thinking about him in these days to come. So here's the thing. I found out something about you, buddy. Oh. And no. I thought it was very, very interesting. Okay. Is it true? Well, how do I put this? You work in nuclear facilities?
Yep.
And are you a nuclear scientist?
Nuclear engineering.
Nuclear engineering. That is pretty well respectable, and it explained to me why you're probably so smart, and I'm not.
Well, if I ever I'll tell you a quick story because people have asked me over the years what got me into this, and what got me into it was I always wanted to be an oceanographer. I mean, that was my dream. Jacques Cousteau,
right?
I mean, that was what I wanted to do. We had a neighbor that worked for Woods Hole Observatory. Was out on the ships all the time. I always wanted to do that. So, I applied to some colleges and, I got accepted to several big colleges in oceanography. And, my father said, well, that's great. But, where's the scholarship money? You got to pay for it somehow. So wound up going to the military, went that route. And went through basic training at Maritime College, and I, head shaved. I was in shell shock, so I wound up getting the wrong schedule. I was hoping to go get the oceanography schedule to go to class for oceanography, and instead I got an engineering curriculum. And I said, well, I'll correct it the next semester. The next thing you know, I graduated in engineering instead of oceanography. So that's what got me into this purely by accident. And that was many moons ago.
I just think it's very interesting. I'm sure um, I'm sure it's a great career, and there's no way. You're probably smart enough to know not to take me into any nuclear facility, right?
Well, I mean, people make it a lot grimmer than it really is. It's just a normal facility. They've got all the safeguards built into it. I mean, you travel overseas. I've been to plants around the world. I wouldn't say that in all of them, but I mean, here in the U.S., the safety layers that are built in, they're pretty safe.
I'm sure. See, you don't know me. I touch everything, and
Now, that's the one thing. When I walk in the control room, I keep my hands in my pockets.
yeah. See, That's why you should never have me in there, especially the color red. If it's a red button, I like to push. I just saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No, you see, you don't want to push the wrong button. But no, I'm sure that's a very interesting. I mean, very very prestigious career, I would say, and that when I found that out, I'm like, oh no wonder he's so smart and I'm so dumb.
Uh,
No, I'm dumb.
My father used to say there's a lot of people that are book smart and real world stupid. So,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, unfortunately, I had the street smarts. We'll say. Right. That's why I worked on the streets, because I had street smarts. All right, so I know and I'll tell you what. I don't know if I'm a little late to this game or not, but I scored a Manticore. Used it a total of 3 times so far, we'll say. And I got to tell you, I like it. I like it. Um, I find it. Now, my first question is, from your point of view, and I can tell you my point of view after yours. Do you feel it's a good machine for someone more towards being a beginner, or more towards an advanced user?
well, I think let's go back to the Equinox. So when the Equinox came out, Minelab's engineers figured out what features, what functions they needed to tackle pretty much any condition out there. But knowing how to get to the setting, what the setting was, when to make an adjustment to it, what programs were available. You had on an 800, you had 8 programs: 2 park, 2 beach, 2 field, 2 gold, and 600, you had the 6 programs. Those programs, if you wanted to get the most out of the machine, you really had to tweak it. The problem is most people would download programs or copy settings off the internet, and without knowing why they made the setting changes, would have been better off leaving it at the factory preset. So Minelab, I think, took that understanding, and when they designed the Manticore, obviously they added some additional features, functions, the Paperwhite screen, the navigation. I think clearly Minelab's got the navigation figured out, that the navigation on that machine is first rate. But when they built the default programs that are in it, a beginner, if you don't get sidetracked with all the YouTube settings and all the wacky name programs that you see out there, a beginner can take that machine with very few tweaks, primarily for preferences, volume or tones, and do extremely well with it. Now you can customize it to, put in different breakpoints and tones and, stability and stabilizer function, things like that. But out of the box, I know I've seen a lot of posts where people say, I'm a beginner, I bought the machine, I'm in way over my head. Well, they're overthinking the machine. Stick with the presets, get 50 hours, 100 hours under your belt, and then say, let me go back to this trash filled site and let me tweak it a little bit with the iron, the iron functions, or whatever feature you want to play with. But I mean, for beach hunting, it's great right out of the box.
I agree. And my opinion is that it's usable by a beginner and an experienced detectorists alike, because the experienced detectorist can go in there and it's easily, I believe it's easily tweakable. Like I said, and this really no lie, I'm not really that smart when it comes to this stuff. I'm not a scientist when it comes to detectors, but I believe I know enough to maneuver my way around it. Um, now this is the funny thing, because the tell me the presets. You either have dirt or you have beach, because in gold mode. I know we all know that, but I'm saying base for the basics. You have beach settings and dirt settings, and then how many different ones are there? Three or four different ones
Yeah.
on each side. But a new detectorist can go in there and use the what's it, all terrain?
Yeah. All
All
terrain
terrain,
general, all terrain high conductor. If you want to look, you want to cherry pick low conductor, the
right?
beach modes. Right.
Right. And then if you're on the beach, you can go into the. I was using the beach deep, and we really were successful with it. Um, like I said, uh, over the last year, I loved my Deus. The Deus 2 is a great machine. Listen, but when I was side by side with a Manticore, and honestly, the Manticore outperformed the Deus by, I'm not going to say by a world's distance, but it outperformed. So that was what made my decision to go with the Manticore, because I believe I can use this in the dirt just as I was having. I was having problems with the Deus in the dirt.
Yeah.
So I think I can use the Manticore in both scenarios and be very, very successful. And the one thing I believe that everyone needs to do when they get a new machine is read the manual. And I'm sure you'll support that. How the one thing I preach to people, you got a new machine. One guy wanted me. We were in Florida, and a gentleman asked me to set up his Manticore. I said, "Did you read the manual?" "Oh no." "Well, I'm doing you a disservice by touching your machine. If you didn't read the manual, I can't tweak it for you, because you need to learn what it does. And then once you've read the manual, some people do need the assistance of another manual, which would be your book.
Right.
I know a lot of people that have purchased Manticores, and the first thing they say is, I got to get Andy's book. So, real quick, do you want to explain the settings? Do you want to give us your opinion of their settings and why they're so good?
Well, again, as you said, understanding the settings is critical. And that's why all of my handbooks, they start out with um, every one of the controls, what it means, and what the adjustments are on it. Now, I've had some people, oh, it's just a rehash of the manual. Well, no, it's not. I mean, the features are what the features are, and they're going to be in the manual as well. I put it in a different spin and explain it differently. If you understand what those settings are, what the features are, what the functions are that you can adjust, you can look at some of these programs that get posted online and realize, hey, they may work great in a field in England, or a colonial cellar hole in Connecticut, or a ghost town in Arizona, but they're not going to help you on Asbury Park in New Jersey.
Right.
It just, you've got to understand, what does the base program look like. So if I'm using Beach Deep, and I get close to where one of the old piers was, and you start getting iron, well, what feature, what function do you want to play with to deal with the iron? If I'm hunting the normal stretch of beach, and I'm sure you've got miles and miles of beaches where you probably don't get anything iron wise except an occasional fish hook or a lure. When you get near where a structure was torn down, obviously then iron is going to become a bigger factor. I think in general, with all of the machines out there today, people have made so much out of the iron masking phenomena. It almost makes you wonder how any of us found anything 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, before these multi-frequency iron, quote, unmasking machines came out. We hit an old church here on Saturday, and a few nails when I got near the building, but out in front in the yard, in the side yard, I didn't get any iron. So the fact that it's great in iron, the Deus is great with iron masking, and that's because they've got 3,000 years of iron in the fields. Or the Manticore has got, the stability stabilizer function, which works to identify iron. But if there's no iron there, it doesn't matter. So I think understanding what the controls are and what they do makes the machine a whole lot easier to use.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm turning this on because I want to ask you questions as we go. And all right. So the one thing we're having problems with is the headphones. How do I put this? Now it appears that I have to sync my headphones. And I really shouldn't have to do that, right? Andy, am I right? You there? Tell me he froze up. Great. I got a great interview going and he's frozen. I don't know if he's frozen, if I'm frozen, what we got going on. We lost him. All right. I'm sure he'll be back. I don't know how that happened, whether it was him or me. But I wanted to get this started, and I wanted to get this started and ask him some questions as I look at it. So I guess we'll wait for him to come back unless his battery died, or, as everyone probably knows, he just hates me and left. You think he just hates me and left? Ooh. So, I've had this machine out, and I'm really, really surprised at how much I like it, and am getting acquainted with it. I think that my experience with the CTX and then the Equinox both have kind of prepared me for this. I can understand if you've never owned a Minelab in the past and you grab a Manticore, any machine might be overwhelming when you first grab one or first buy one, and especially as an inexperienced detectorist, you know what I mean? But you got to read up. You got to read up. You got to learn it. YouTube videos can be very, very good. However, as Andy said, you just can't pick it up without knowing what it does. You have to learn your machine. And no, that's why I was just about to ask Andy. I just turned it on and it didn't pick up the headphones. We were practicing on the beach because my good friend Rich Fonts was turning it off, and every time he turned it back on, the headphones weren't there. Yes, they were paired. My headphones have been paired. Now, I don't know if it's because I came home and charged everything, but I don't know if there's a proper sequence, but we learned that what we learned was you had to turn the machine off first and then the headphones. And then once you turn on the machine, it looks for your headphones. Let me see if he didn't send me a Facebook message real quick. No, I lost him. He's gone. So that was what I wanted to ask was about the headphones. Here he is.
I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. Okay, real quick. I just turned on my machine, and I'm finding out that I had to pair the headphones when I turned it back on. We were finding out the other day on the beach using it that they don't always pair up when you turn it on. Is there a trick to this? Is there not? What do we got going on with that?
I think that's just a Minelabism because, obviously, you probably know with the 800, the Equinox did the same thing. I mean,
Right.
sometimes it's a challenge to get the headphones to pair up. That's the problem with a proprietary communication network, which is what they've got.
I understand.
So, sometimes they just turn it off, start it up again, and just press and hold the detect button on the right or the Wi-Fi button.
Right. The problem is, my friend Rich Faunce, the guy's 85 years old and in better health than me. However, it's a little bit of a drawback for him when he turns it on, and he gets a little confused on how to do it. And I'm just trying to train him on how to do it so he does remember. We kind of found that if we turned the machine off first and then the headphones, when you turn the machine back on, it was looking to pair with the headphones. I don't know if that's, but
no,
like
that's what they recommend.
Right. Okay. So turn the machine off first. Is it good to turn the headphones off or let them go off automatically? Because if you turn the machine off, eventually your headphones go off automatically.
Yeah. I mean, the dais goes off as soon as you turn it off, it goes to sleep. It turns the headphones off.
Right.
I always turn the machine off, turn the headphones off. Again, when you turn it back on, turn the headphones on, then turn the machine on, and it'll pair up with them.
Or just be aware that you might have to restart it. Does the cell phone Bluetooth, if somebody's saying make sure your cell phone Bluetooth is turned off, does that interfere with it at all? Or
I've seen that, over the years. I mean, going back 10 years, leave your cell phone in the airplane mode. I have yet to see it make a difference. If I had a cell phone, I mean, I was out this weekend. I didn't even have my cell phone with me, and it was doing it. So, I personally don't think it makes a difference to have your cell phone on or in the beach mode or airplane mode.
I understand. I'll tell you what I'm super impressed with, and then you're probably going to agree. The build, this chassis, is a awesome carbon fiber. When I had the Equinox, first thing I had to do was buy a new shaft for it because it wasn't the greatest. The dais, I liked the chassis on the dais. Some felt it was fragile. Do I think it was a little fragile? Yes. But this thing, to me, is solid. I like everything about it. And I will tell you what I do like about it is I call it the yoke, is the way the machine attaches to the coil. We all know the Equinox had problems. But what do you think about the build? What's your opinion?
I mean, absolutely. The only complaint I would have with the build is, I mean, on the 3030, it had a little nub, so that it kept the shaft lined up. So this, unless you've got your, these two clamps, it's easy for this coil to turn.
Yes.
So that's the only complaint that I would have would be they should have something in the middle of the lower shaft that rides in a groove in the middle shaft.
Well, I'll tell you what I just noticed. I just noticed in order for everything to be straight, the clamps are lined up in the back. And you got to fine tune that screw. You got to get that screw in the right spot to where, because it was loose on me the other day, and I fine tuned the screw a little bit, and it holds nice and solid.
Yeah. The other thing, and I have seen people that have broken the coil, the yoke. I think a lot of the breakage dealt with using that as something as a leverage to get to stand back up.
But this thing, I agree, because I saw, what I did? I saw someone post online that, it broke twice. Did you see what their machine looked like? Yeah. I swear to God, it looked like they ran it over with a truck 12 times. Like, listen, I'm no baby when I'm no baby.
I've got a buddy of mine in Georgia, and he'll take a new machine, and a week later, it looks like he dragged it behind the truck.
And I don't baby my machines either, but I got to tell you something, man. That is solid. I'm going to say that's a plastic, but it feels like metal. I mean, this thing. All right, so you want a little. thing about me. Maybe the screw doesn't. I don't know. I just the tightener for the coil was just a little tricky to me. I had to fine tune that again also. But I tell you, it to me it's a solid build. I and listen, anyone breaking those ears, man, I don't think you're going to have anywhere near the problems they had with the Equinox.
No, the one thing I would recommend, particularly if you're a water hunter or a beach hunter, is to get some additional washers. Because what'll happen is the coil starts to flop and then you tighten it and it flops because the sand will wear it down. And then you keep tightening it, you keep tightening it, you keep tightening it. Then I
That
can see it breaking an ear. So
yeah,
what I would
that's
recommend is if
Ronnie
you're
DeGhetto. Ronnie DeGhetto mentioned that to me.
so just make sure that you got the spare washers so that if you're in the water or if you're on the beach that you replace them because it will wear them down.
Well, I have a way of making the spare washers, so maybe that'll be one of my first jobs is to design and create new washers that you can just change regularly. If
Yep.
if that's the case, is the washers.
Yeah.
So I like the maneuverability of the screen. I find it easy to use.
Oh, the menu system is first rate. I mean, they clearly looked at what was available. The user interface is phenomenal, and the fact that it's the white background, it makes it doesn't matter what the sun does because you see it in the brightest of sun or in the darkest of night. The thing is just as easy to read.
And it does seem like you have we'll say your entry level. What do you call them in the entry level settings, and then you have your advanced when you get into the ferrous volume, the presets and the tones and everything. That's a little more advanced.
But again, the presets for those will get you 90% of the way there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Again, you see a lot of people post, but you got to figure out where they're posting from. When we hunt over in England, a lot of those fields literally have got 3,000 years worth of iron in them.
Right.
So you need something that can separate good from bad. And over there, really, the way the most of the guys hunt is if it's not iron, they dig it because it could be a small hammered or cut hammered or
so many different things,
and they're all the way down in the low range.
Let's face it, we got quarter dime nickel here. You know what I mean? There's not a wide variety.
Now on the beach, obviously some of the gold chains or small pieces of gold are going to read down low. But again, even for that, people say, well, I dig, ones and twos. I don't live on a beach, and if I'm driving 3 hours, I can't.
I dig them, not in the dirt, but when I'm on a beach, I'll tell you what. With that Equinox, I found so much gold at a 2. It was not a 1. It was not a 3. 2. I got on a 2. I got some gold chains. I got some small pieces. I got some things of gold that you probably. And listen, I got a lot of foil at number 2. But that's the one thing. Going back from the Deus to this, that's the one benefit I love is that number 2. I know it sounds weird, but I found a lot. So let me, if I say this, tell me if you agree or not. I honestly feel if I had to describe this machine, I would describe it as the Equinox on steroids with memories of the CTX. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's probably a good way to describe it. Again, I mean, for those that know the Equinox, that know the 800, I know guys that, have no reason to switch because they just kill it with the 800, but they've probably been using it for 10 years.
I loved it. The only thing was it didn't work for me on the land as much.
Well, the goofy scale, I mean, you got to admit the 800, the -9 to 40 scale. I mean, that, I still remember Charlene, we were at a dealer conference and Charlene asked one of their engineers, why don't you do 0 to 100? And their answer was because everybody else does. All right. Well, maybe everybody
Not,
else figured it out, but
not everybody else does.
they've now gone to that on the 900 and the 700, and obviously the
And
Equinox.
I did keep my Deus. Um, Let me ask you a question. I I love this coil, but what? So what is the big thing with the 9-inch coil?
That's what I've got on this.
All right.
I mean, obviously, if you're using it for beach, it's probably a great all-purpose coil. The thing, I was talking to some people, friends of mine that have been in this hobby for 20 plus years. If you think about it, 10, 15, 20 years ago, what came standard with any metal detector? What size coil?
The 11-inch.
No, eight
Oh,
inch.
oh, eight
The
inch.
8 inch coil. The 8 inch coil. All the whites, they were always an 8 inch coil. You could upgrade to a 10 or an 11 inch, 10.5 inch coil, depending on the brand, but they were all 8 inch coils. They were concentric, but there was a reason for it, weight, balance, coverage, target masking. The 9 inch coil actually weighs less than the 8 inch coil does on the Manticore, right? Just because of the design of it, doesn't have all the ribbing and everything else. The balance on this with the 9 inch, I had one with the 11, and it never clicked with me, so I turned around and I sold it. And
Yeah.
then I was convinced to try another one. Buddy of mine down here in Mississippi said you got to try it with the 9, so I bought it with the 9, and I don't think I put the 11 back on in 6 9 months. The,
So
the, the 9 inch for my use. Now, if I'm hunting a field, like a 200 acre Civil War site, yeah, I'd probably use the 11 for coverage. But I don't, the 15 or the 18 weighs twice as much as the machine weighs, and the 15, I've talked to guys that say, well, they're going to use that in the water. You imagine the drag that thing gives you in the water.
I've
So,
I've done it with the CTX and the Equinox. I've done the larger coils, and you know what? Uh, it, I wound up going back to the stock coil, and you
yeah.
know, so I'm going to stay with the 11 because that's just what I'm going to use. Unless I just can't see spending the money on a 9-inch coil when I can't see no favorable difference. You know what I mean? I can't. So
Well, yeah, if you've got areas, especially on the beach where the piers used to be, and it's just littered with iron, I think the 9 will snake things out that the 11 won't.
yeah,
So,
you know what though? You know what I'm good with? Honestly, I got to admit, I'm good at picking up targets inside of iron. I'm pretty good at it. I'm not going to say I'm the greatest person in the world. I'm not the greatest detectorist. I don't claim to be, but I can get those tones we did it the other day in the iron. The beach we went to the other day was stripped. There was only like 2 inches of sand on top of hard pan, so there was a lot of iron, and I did pull a couple coins inside that iron, which does give me a little bit of confidence that I feel that I can do that on the beach. And yeah, I am predominantly a beach hunter. So
well, I mean, the advantage of a double D coil. So if you're going along and you're listening for the tone, and again, it's great because a lot of people go strictly by the target ID tones. These machines, the Deus, the Manticore, the Equinox, they're tone machines primarily.
yeah,
If you rely on the target ID, you're guaranteed you're going to miss something. So what the double D coil does is when you hit that tone, it gets your attention.
it does.
Then you're going to go back, and again, I can't tell you how many times you'll see somebody and they're swinging it, 2 or 3 feet on either side, checking a target. All you got to do is move it an inch or so back and forth, and you can wiggle it and you can separate targets. That's the trick with a double D coil.
Now, the Manticore. This is something different I picked up on. You don't necessarily have to swing it to necessarily get the signal, right? Especially in pinpoint mode. You Is there something about that that it can be still, it can sit still and still give you a reading?
Yeah, but if you want the accuracy and you want to hear the tones and you want to separate two targets that are in close proximity, all you have to do is wiggle it. All you have to do
Just a
is
little
the
bit.
coil has to be moving
Right,
just the slightest amount, and
right.
that's how you separate. And it's, you'll see people walking around the target, swinging it a foot or two
Oh
over it,
no,
multiple
yeah.
directions. All you're getting is the same bad information, multiple different directions.
I
So
was
just
I
wiggle it
was
an inch and you're good to go.
I'm impressed with the pinpoint on this machine. Um, I never really used pinpoint with the Deus. It was all that little,
The wiggle and where it
yeah, the
drops.
wiggle really kind of told you where it was. But I used the pinpoint on this. Um, so what was I just going to ask? If it had a little bit of a bigger screen, that's the one thing I would like is a little bit of a bigger screen. Um, Presets, we've already spoke. The presets are really, really, really good. Some of the things I found out you have okay, so when you get in a machine, some of the advanced things that they have, which really strike my fancy. Oh, let's talk about the screen, or what do they call that? I know I'm going to call it the 12 line, but what is that line actually called?
What, the one that runs down the middle on the bottom?
Correct. Your Ferris line.
Yeah.
That's the Ferris line.
Yeah, so anything, nails, big pieces of iron are going to be on the bottom part of the screen, and then your flakes and other ferrous signals will be on the top. So again, I mean that's where you can get a nail that'll give you an 80, 82. But you'll see where the image on the screen will be on the bottom in that gray area. That's where, if you're hunting areas that do have a lot of iron, and again, remember this only comes into play with iron. It doesn't do anything for you if you're in a schoolyard where there's can slaw. It doesn't do anything for you if you're in a yard that's got gutter slivers or aluminum siding pieces in the yard. It's only designed for ferrous. It's what the ferrous limits are, upper and lower. So you can
Correct.
actually, for example, the Canadian coins that have got the iron core. So they need to open certain sections up of that upper and lower region to get the coins to read. So they're looking for something iron, but most of the iron they want to reject. So if you know where the coins, start in all metal, check it with the target that you're looking for, and see where it's hitting in the upper lower screen, and then open that gray area up using the edit function under the ferrous limits.
Understand. So basically what if you've got a nice dot, a nice round dot on that line, it's leaning towards telling you it's a better target, correct?
It's less so than with the CTX 3030. And what I'm trying to say is if the coin is on edge, or if it's bent, or if it's corroded, you're going to see a smear, but it'll be centered. It's not going to be a perfectly round dot like you used to see on the 3030. It'll be centered on that line.
I've seen that.
And you won't see it smearing into the gray areas. So
Now,
be careful about looking for that perfect dot, because that's a coin laying flat about 5-6 inches down. You're going to get that. Beyond that, if it's on edge,
I'm using that as a starting point. We'll say for your detecting as a starting point. That's right there. Boom, you got a good idea that it's a favorable target.
Mm-hmm.
And then, from what I understand, is this machine will show you when there's two targets. But what does it mean when you have a straight line going up to your Ferris line? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It depends. I mean, if it's more toward the right of the screen, clearly it's a higher non-conductive, a higher non-ferrous target. I mean, I would go for it, depending on how long it is. If it's got a bend in it, that's going to tell you that you've got something that's it's obviously not round. It's an odd shaped target. I pulled out of our yard there in Pennsylvania. I found a sterling silver spoon that was literally, it was in the ground almost like this, and it gave me one of those weird signals. But from top to bottom, it was clearly in the white. It wasn't even in the gray, top or bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But it was telling me it was, the way it was laying, the way the orientation and the type of target, it was a good signal. The signal was in the 80s, but it turns out that it was the way it was buried and the shape of the target gave me that strange.
Right. It can't be foolproof, but your machine, after you learn it, can lean you towards knowing what a good signal is, knowing what a good target is, knowing how much iron is in your target, even. So,
Right.
I mean, these things are pretty well advanced and can be used as such. Now, it has what's known as soft keys that you can. There's three of them, from what I understand,
Right.
and you can program to your liking. And that would be, you got to learn what they are, how to set them, and you make the decision of what you want to set them to. And you can do, like, I have mine, which is known as the sensitivity boost. Is that what's called?
Yeah,
So,
bumps up 5 numbers.
right, especially when I'm on the beach and I'm getting something I think's a little far out of reach. I was using it the other day. You hit that sensitivity boost and it boosts you up like 5 numbers, and that's one of my soft keys. I honestly forget what the others are right now. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, one of the book that obviously the Minelab Manticore handbook that I've got. There's a whole section on those soft keys, and the update that they see. That's the other thing, that Minelab's different than the other industry, leaders. They don't subscribe to the update of the week club.
Right.
So unless it's flat out broken, the next update will be the next machine. It's not going to be version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Right.
So just because they can add a feature doesn't mean they're going to add a feature. And I think some of the other manufacturers, it's great that they're adding all of these features. A lot of people I've talked to said there's got to be a trade-off. I mean, you're adding additional features, functions, processing to the processor that came out 4 years ago.
Right.
So at some point,
you're adding to one side where it could detract from the other, and it could be counterproductive. I know you've talked about that numerous times.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the problem with a digital platform. You don't know what you may inadvertently change something by adding something.
Right.
So, Minelab, the only thing they did was they took care of that iron falsing issue early on. And then they added they originally only had 3 choices. Now they've got 10 choices on the soft keys. So really, other than that, here's the machine. If you don't like it, we'll wait for the Manticore's replacement whenever it comes out.
Uh-huh.
But the Manticore performs out of the box the way they ship it.
Now, here is something that it really opened my eyes, and it really was a shock to me, and I'll explain why. But I think if the one thing that every Manticore user needs to learn or needs to know is sensitivity. Can you explain this phenomenon of the sensitivity with the Manticore? It goes up to like what, 35?
35.
And listen, I
am over 30. It's in that red zone.
Right, correct. I am the balls to the wall guy. Okay, unless my sensitivity was all the way to the max, I wasn't going to find it, and that was my mentality. And that's different with the Manticore. Can you explain?
Well, I'm going to explain it, but I'm also going to tell you there's an exception to that. I typically run mine in the 19 to 23 range for land. Now, again, I'm not sure what you do on the beaches there. I don't know how high you run it. 19 to 23, I'll use the sensitivity boost if I want to check a signal. I want to control the machine. I don't want the machine chattering, falsing, trying to listen for a good signal in and amongst noise. There are guys in Europe, Neil Jones, for example, he's actually in the book. He runs his maxed out. And I don't know how he does it, but he does, and he does well with it. We're going to go over there this fall, my wife and I. Hopefully I get together with Neil and he's going to show me something. But I prefer to run mine below 25,
right?
and I
But
just
the
want stability.
but the bottom line, folks, and then I was shocked, and it really, I was like, okay, it goes up to 35, but it's again, it's counterproductive and is going to hurt you running it higher. There's no need to run the sensitivity higher. You're not losing depth by cutting it back. You're actually maximizing the efficiency of the machine. And I just found that to be really, really incredible in my opinion,
Well, you
because
talk about the 2D function on the screen, the accuracy, the stability of that 2D graph improves in that below 25 range. If you push it above 30, just holding it in the air, you're going to start seeing ghosts and stuff flying across that screen. So
and
to
that
me,
was
that's just information that's it's not valid, but it's
yeah.
distracting.
Right, and it's counterproductive, and it can lead to chattering and missing a good tone. I just thought that was like I was like, wow. I was like, you know what? That's enlightening. That was eye opening to me, and I think that was and part of learning the machine. I mean, that was. I think that's one of the main things people need to learn is it's okay to cut the sensitivity back on this machine. Wow, like wow, that's like
You're going to have less falsing when you get into iron, for example. I mean, the
right.
the less sensitivity doesn't mean always mean less depth. It means better control and more useful information that's coming back from the target.
How do you feel about ground balance tracking?
If you would have asked me that with the 800 or virtually any other machine out there, the problem with tracking, as long as you're not somebody that's going to overanalyze, analysis paralysis, keep sweeping over the target, checking to see if the signal, what it is. At some point, the machine thinks that's part of the ground matrix. It takes it away, and the signal goes away. I haven't found that so much to be the case with the Manticore. So,
Okay.
I
Wow.
think people would say I don't touch ground balance. I always ground balance the machine when I start. I always noise cancel when I start.
Right.
Uh, if in Pennsylvania, a lot of the yards they're all heated with coal from the 1800s. If I manually ground balance the machine and it comes up 65, 70, why would I leave it at zero? I mean, the function's there for a reason. So
Right.
I've been to areas, for example, my daughter lives in Charleston, South Carolina, and it's all coastal sand. And you ground balance, I may get 6. Well, so leaving it at zero is probably okay. If you want to switch ground tracking on and let the machine make some minor adjustments. But again, I always start out by ground balancing. It gives me an idea on what the conditions of the ground are, because I may have to make some additional adjustments, additional features have to get tweaked. And then, if it's not an iron infested site, I'll leave the ground tracking on.
Right.
If you've got a lot of targets, if I'm hunting around an old home site, I'm not going to use tracking because it'll try tracking to the targets.
What do you think about the beach? You think it's a good idea on the beach or no?
In general, I'd say, yeah, I'd go ahead and leave it on. Again, when you get near some of those piers, I mean, I know I've seen some of the old piers where the hurricanes and storms have torn them up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you probably got areas where you've got a lot of iron in the ground.
Not yeah,
Those
not
are,
too
well, I mean, if you come across a spot and it's just, you hear the low iron tone, I
right.
turn the ground tracking off and just listen
So
to
and
it.
the one thing I read was the tracking does use the battery a little more. It said having the lights on will run the battery. What's your opinion on the battery? Because I think it kind of went down a little further than it should have for the usage that I put on it.
It definitely doesn't get the battery life that the Equinox did. So, it's got a larger battery, but there's more processing going under the hood.
Okay.
The screen obviously is drawing more power than the Equinox did. I typically have got more than one machine with me. So I'm either testing a machine or I'm comparing signals between machines. I've never run out of battery on the Equinox. But then again, I mean, I've got them fully charged before I head out in the morning.
And that, well, the thing is, you can charge these things in the car too. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You can pop them. I got the plugs in my car. I got a spare portable battery. Yeah, listen, it takes me a half hour to get to the beach. Boom, you plug that thing for a half an hour, you're doing pretty good. I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, the best battery I've seen so far is the Deus 2. The best battery that I had to charge out once a month. I got a lot of usage out of that. That was a good battery.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm getting a lot of questions in the chat. Okay. It seems that everybody wants to know about the Legend 2. Do you have any plans on getting your hands on that?
Hands on, yes. Using it or writing a book on it, again, I mean, the problem I've got with the Deus, and that's why there's no Deus 2 handbook yet, and
Right.
that's the problem that got me with the Legend. I mean, they went through update. I was told they're done with the update. We're done, locked down, no more changes. I issued the book 2 months later, 3 more updates. The book now becomes outdated. So the Manticore, again, I had some personal issues, with my father and things like that. That's what delayed me getting the Manticore handbook out. But the Deus 2 handbook was ready to be released twice. Version 2 came out with the Horde Hunter, and I said, all right, well, that's locked down, no more changes. Then version 3, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. Then 4 just came out, and they're waiting for 4.1 because it bricks some of the people's detectors if they don't have the stereo headphones.
Right.
So, again, I don't want to put a book out that's going to be obsolete 2 months after I hit the street with it.
I respect that. I do. I respect that. So, in regards to the Legend 2, you might hold off. You may, you have to see first. I respect that. So what do you think about the Manticore? You think that'll fit in a suitcase, a carry-on? I don't.
Yeah, it does.
It does? Oh yeah.
It,
Oh my God. Yeah. You take it apart. That's right. Yeah. Someone's asking there looking for a machine that's going to fit in a suitcase. This will fit
take
in
it
a
apart.
carry-on.
Yeah, we put it in carry on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take the arm cuff off, take the rods out, flip the coil around, and fit some carry on bag.
Yep. Yeah.
I would never. That's one thing. Even when we travel to Europe, I mean, we told people when we took the last groups that do not check the machine. And the one guy, him and his wife, checked their Deuses. So luckily, my wife and I always bring extra machines because otherwise they wouldn't have had a machine for 3 days while theirs toured the countryside looking for us.
Oh, well, mine broke one time. I threw it in the checked baggage. I went to Mexico, jumped in the water, and it took water. And I really think it's from them monkeying on the bag. So from now on, I will put it in checked baggage. There's no question.
Just take it apart and put it in checked bag. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. So so you haven't seen the Legend 2 at all.
No, I haven't. Again, I mean, I've seen some of the videos. To be honest with you, the screen looks amazingly familiar. It looks like a Legend. They've simplified a few of the settings, but it's all going to come down to how does it work in the field.
My question is, what new technology or what have they done to really say to me, I need to, go from the Legend to the Legend 2? You really, it's only going to be reviews. If you own a Legend and you don't have any grounds or any basis of idea of why you're buying a Legend 2 just because it's there, I think you need to do your research first. I don't think you should run out and buy a Legend 2 just because you have the Legend 1,
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So my wife got a call. We're still have people that know us that when we lived in Mississippi before that we had a shop, and the guy called her up and said, "Look, I'm new to the hobby. I love the hobby. I've got detectors. I just don't know what I'm doing with it. Can you help me?" And she said, "Well, my husband is down there, so he'll meet up with you and kind of show you what's going on." So 2 weekends ago, I met up with this guy, and he had an Equinox, a Simplex, a Legend, and an AT Pro, right? And he's been doing this for about 3 months. And I'm sitting there going, man, how do you get all these machines? He goes, well, I watch a lot of YouTube. He's retired. And he said, when these guys are using a machine, I go out and I buy it. So he had 4 machines and didn't know how to use any of
Didn't
them.
know how to use anything. You can't do
I
that.
said,
And
so I told him, I said, first of all, let's pick 2. Let's not worry about the other 2. We're going to pick the Minelab and the Nocta. All right, I'm going to set them up. I'm going to show you how they work. I took him out to a spot, and we were digging coins. And he was mind boggled. He was blown away. So now it makes sense. So he went on his way, and he calls me a few days later. He says, I went out to this yard that I'd hunted before, and I didn't find anything. But this time I got a bunch of coins, including some wheats. He says, I'm getting rid of those other machines. I said, stop watching those videos. At least if you do, don't think you got to buy whatever they're swinging. Because I said, what I had in the truck, I had 3 different detectors, and none of them were what you had. And I could have sold you a Manticore, a Legend, or a Deus 2. But you don't need those. You've got the
that's
machines
the
you
problem.
need.
That's the problem. And I think it's a lot of detectorists are always looking at what the other guy's got and what it's doing for him. And they watch a YouTube video where the guy finds a gold ring with a bounty hunter, so they got to run out and get that. Or they have the Manticore and the guy's on YouTube. Everyone wants to be a YouTube star. And this is what people need to see through is like you said, oh, I have my Manticore and I'm using the Manticore 9000 program that I designed and look what it does for me. That number one, you want to get, I want that program. I want to put that in there. And they think they're just going to do that without learning the machine and they're going to be very successful. Guys, you've got to learn your machine. If you have 4 machines and you take a different one every day, you're hurting yourself. I have a Legend here. I like it. I like the way it performs. I like to take it. I was liking taking it out in the dirt to try and get to turn that into my dirt machine. However, I just didn't go out in the dirt as much and I haven't used it because 99% of the time I'm on the beach and I'm using the Deus 2. But you've got to learn. You got to learn the machine before you decide on a new one, don't you think? I mean, that's
Well, like I told you, I mean, the Manticore handbook, there's 20 something pages of what the controls are. If you read those 20 pages 3 or 4 times, you'll understand what the machine does and what the functions will do to how it performs in the field. If you understand that, I don't need to give you a whole list of settings for coins or for relics or for field hunting, because you'll know which program to select, all terrain, general, and then which of the functions you want to change. And if you do,
it also helps you from having to do it in the field.
Exactly. And now you know, if I get to an area and it's clean, I'm walking across the field. Now I find out where there used to be a house. Then I go in and I can adjust the Ferris limits, or if I can adjust the stabilizer function, then the machine quiets down because I know what it's telling me. It's running into iron. Let me go in and make 2 adjustments and I'm back in the game.
I just had something and I just totally lost it. But yeah, learning the machine, reading, you have to read. Your book explains it all. That's it. You need to know what the function is, how to change it, because if you're out in the field, you can't sit there and read the book. It's just, and you can't ask everyone, oh, can you set up my machine? Can you set up my machine? Have you read the manual? No. Well, if you read the manual, I mean, and the way I set it up may not be the way you like it.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. It's a lot of it, tones, personal preference. The Deus 2 is really a tonal-based machine. A lot of guys set the machine with the remote and leave it in the car, and then they're only hunting with the headphones and the shaft. And you can do that. All you're listening for is tones. So my tones are going to be different than what your tones would be.
I never knew I could do that.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I was relic hunting one time and I had some friends with me and I tripped over an old barbed wire fence.
I remember you lost it.
I'm trying to look cool and nonchalant and kept on hunting, and I looked down, oh crap, the remote was gone. It fell off the shaft.
Yeah.
And luckily, we were able to go back and find it. But the machine will still work without the remote, as I found out.
Well, I'll tell you what, we took up a lot of your time. Give me your wrap up on the Equinox. Give me a
The
closing
Manticore.
state.
The
Manticore.
Manticore.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Again, I think the Manticore, don't overcomplicate it. That's, to me, that's the biggest thing. Um, like any of these new machines, the first thing, like, when version 4.0 of the Deus 2 came out, it wasn't hours before people were saying, who's got the settings for version 4.0? Give me your program for 4.0. I was out this weekend. I'm still trying to figure out the settings for 4.0. So, but people, within a day, they were saying, I went out, I hit a 200-acre field that's been pounded to death, and I found 2 silver Roman coins. Okay, well, could it be that you didn't pass over it with your coil before on a 200-acre field?
Right.
But the Manticore is the same way. If you stick with the presets, make some tweaks. Tone breaks are the biggest thing. In the book, I've got a thing called a gold program, and at $5,000 an ounce, I've had several people say that it's been a game changer for them. How you can focus in, if you're a beach or water hunter, focus in on those gold targets, and not ignore the coins. But I mean, if you've got the time and the patience, and you want to focus on the gold signals, I mean, the machine can do that for you. But it comes back to understanding the machine and not overcomplicating it.
Great point. And I got to tell you, though, you talk about the fields that have been hunted. I've never been like that. I never went from the CTX to the Equinox and said, oh, I got to go over this to see if I find something different, or the Equinox to the Days. But I'm going to tell you something. I want to take this new Manticore out to a field. And when I tell you it's been decimated, it's been decimated. And I want to see if this can find something that's been left over after. When I tell you, 1,000 detectors have been out there. Trust me, 1,000 detectors have been out there. So I just want to do that as a little experiment. But okay.
But to speak to that, a lot of times what we'll do, I mean, Jay, this friend of mine down here in Mississippi, we go out with poker chips or surveyor flags, and we'll mark targets.
Right.
And then go back with a different machine. Like this weekend, we had 3 different machines out. And saying, okay, this is a good signal. Let me compare it to a Deus with the high frequency coil. Let me compare it to the Manticore. Let me compare it to a Legend. And if the other 2 machines didn't hit it or said it was probably trash, and the third machine did, then it's okay. The new machine is doing something different.
Well, that's
in none of the cases, any of the good targets, they all hit it. It's just a matter of getting your coil over it at the right angle and being able to interpret the signal.
Right? Like I said, I hunted side by side with the Manticore against the D2, and there was countless times that the Manticore had a good signal and the Deus wasn't getting anything, or a very scratchy.
And I've been to sites before where machine A will outperform machine B. In that case, that's telling me something. But, if I got it, like I got a standing Liberty quarter, one of the targets on Saturday, and it was probably only about 6 inches down. But there was nothing masking it. There was nothing near it. So was it just getting lucky and getting the coil over it, or did it tell me something? Now, then I got a union cuff button, and it was deep, and it was next to some iron. Yeah, the other machine struggled. The Deus 2 gave me a better signal. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that every machine is equal, but if you know how to use the machine, I mean, I can still take my 30-30 out, and I still love that detector. I mean, it's heavy, but
I do too. I
love the machine.
Yeah.
And that
I've come to the premise, though, that it's too heavy. If I can go, all of a sudden, my scoop's too heavy, my machine's too heavy. I've been carrying that scoop, my back starts hurting. So that's why, that was another reason that leaned me towards the Manticore, was to try and get lighter. Yeah.
Well, if you try the 9, at least try it. Grab somebody that's got one. Next time you go with Mike Burns, see if he's got the 8.
I know I'm going to be happy with this no matter what. I can already feel that, number one, the Minelab tones work well with my ears. I like that. I'm used to the way the Minelab works.
Yep.
And we're just going to see.
But
Okay,
try the line. You're going to see it's extremely well balanced.
the book.
Yep.
Where do we get your book?
Most dealers have got copies of it. To be honest with you, and we are in the final throes of making the move from Pennsylvania to Mississippi. I would tell you, if you want to bookmark it and you want a signed copy, we'll get it to you. Uh, didn't I get you a copy, Steve?
No.
All right. Well, you're going to get a copy too. But if anybody else wants a signed
Okay.
copy, go to Treasure Hunting Outfitters, treasurehuntingoutfitters.com. It will probably be 2 weeks or so, beginning of March. So we're set up down here in the middle of trying to get the moving truck in next week and everything else. I'd prefer if we didn't start getting a rush of orders in because, I don't want to have something fall through the cracks. And the post office has been less than stellar in terms of getting
anyone can either contact Andy. If you can't, you can contact me. I can get you a copy of the book. We know the dealers that we got a list of dealers out there that have them. If they're local to you, we can get a book in your hands, no problemo. And are you working on any other books? You got any projects in the works you want to talk about?
I was talking with my wife about it. I think the next one, instead of getting into this, because the digital platform, all the manufacturers are seeing how many updates they can pump out. And, it's the old Clark W. Griswold Christmas Vacation, the Jelly of the Month Club. I really don't want to chase updates with a book. People said, well, put the book out and then put a supplement out. I'm not going to do that. So the next book that we're going to tackle back in 2010, I put out a book called The Treasure Hunter's Handbook, and that kind of covered all types of hunting and different machines and things like that. So we're probably going to bring that to a 2026 version and bring that out.
And that'll incorporate all the newest machines, I guess. And
correct.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. I like that. That'll be for good reading. That's great. And I got to tell you, your wife is awesome. She's the nicest person in the world. I like chatting with her. We've talked a lot. And I just want to touch base on one little thing. Two things. I know you have one of these.
Got one for Christmas.
And can you tell everyone how you like it?
Yeah, if you want a really cool display piece, Steve's got these little display things, little metal detector coils, and there's a little stand so you can hold four coins, right?
Yeah, yeah, 4 on each one, and then you got the try. Oh, yeah.
So if you want to display it, the other thing that I use that Steve put together is an acid test kit. So if you're in jewelry, if you're into water hunting, mine was a total mess. I picked up a bag and it was the acid had eaten through the bottom of the box. So he puts that together too. So if you're into detecting accessories.
Look how neat that is. And I got other stuff. We got the coil balancers for the Deus. We've got the ear protectors for the Equinoxes. I'm going to see what's out there for the Manticore and try working on them. But I just don't understand this. This cleans up any mess you're ever going to have. That it's so, and if you spill the stuff, it stays contained, which, when you get the stuff on your fingers, it turns your fingers yellow. And if you want to display your finds on the back of your pickup truck every day, have a good time. But if you want something where people can see it, you can even put the rings on there. I don't know the rings will go on there real nice. And I don't know. But, I know, and I'm glad you're happy with them. And I appreciate everything you do for me. And I'm here for you if you need me. Your wife needs me. I don't think I've never answered the phone when you guys have texted or called. So, I thank you for being on the show.
Okay.
You've answered a lot. I think we really hit the Manticore really well tonight. I think it was a great interview. What's that?
Anybody have any other questions?
I believe that I really delivered for folks tonight. They were asking about the legend. They're talking about having the yoke support for the Manticore. Um, are there still water issues with the Manticore? Were there water issues with the Manticore?
I've got a friend of mine, Gary Mueller, down in Jensen Beach that runs Treasure Coast Detectors, and that's all he uses in the water. So, I mean, he's in the water.
Yeah, and you got to
He's
guarantee, you got
ate
to
fish.
warranty.
Yeah.
I know. I had my Equinox leaked once. It was my own fault, but they held it up on warranty. What was? Oh, so yeah. Can you explain this thing? What are these ghost boxes? Have you seen these things or whatever they're called? I don't know why you've got a waterproof machine. Why do you have to make it waterproof? Is it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's called a sea ghost.
Okay, yeah.
Sea ghost, and a guy over in the Ukraine came up with it. It's custom made. It's plexiglass. He had one for the CTX 3030 and the Equinox. What he does, he takes the circuit board and everything out of the housing, puts it in this plexiglass housing. So it's more for diving. I mean, it's fully. I mean, if you're a waiter, it'll never leak. But if you're a diver, you can actually dive with it. So.
Okay, so it takes you down past those 10 meters or whatever.
Well, close to 15 feet, yeah.
Yeah, but people are buying them to walk on a beach with, and I think maybe it's overkill if that's what you choose to do. But
it's almost as much as the machine itself, the conversion kit.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you're waterproofing a waterproof machine. I don't get it, but and then that seems to be about most of the questions I've looked through. But I think we touched a lot. I think people need to, number one, get the book. Start with the settings, the buttons and what they do, and then you move into the advanced stuff. And I think you're pretty well set. I think you're set up out of the box, but everyone says you need to learn your machine before you become frustrated with it.
Yeah, I mean, making sure you understand, and the internet is great, but there's a lot of bad information out there. The stabilizer function, it does everything but cooks breakfast for you, according to the internet. Really, it doesn't activate until you come across iron. So
you talk about the iron statement,
right? So if you listen to what people say it does and what it actually does, it's two different things. I've got a whole chapter on that function by itself. The same thing with, how do you set the tone breaks for coin US, non-US? The gold program, which I've used in some of my other books, and I've got the similar program for the Manticore. So,
that's the part I need help. I need help with the tones, even though I don't have to set these tones like I did with the Deus, with the D2. These tones seem to be perfect for me the way they are. I don't know why, but I don't even think I have to go in there and change that. I think it's all pretty well good. So, Andy, you're the best. I appreciate you. Like I said, you're great. I thank you for being a guest. I always get intimidated when I have to interview you because of your intellect is a lot higher than mine. But I think I pulled my weight tonight, buddy. What do you think?
I think it was good. I think I enjoyed it, and hopefully I answered some questions that people had out there.
And I think I had some of the right questions, and I kind of knew what I was talking about. So the medication's working, basically. The medication's working good. So I want to thank you.
All right.
We're going to let you run, and then I'll close out the show. And listen, till we meet again, buddy, you're the best.
All right.
Good luck with everything. And if you need anything, you call me.
I will. Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. Okay. There you guys have it. The guy is great. He's great. He's awesome. And I hope I pulled a great interview with him. I really hope I did. I'm doing my best to try here. I'm doing my best to try and get some guests. Yes, please. You know what? A little late. I should have said this in the beginning. I was so in tune with this interview that I don't care about anything. I get tunnel vision. I focus. If you're new to this, please subscribe. I know I hate to beg, but please subscribe. We're trying to build a base. We had a great base on Facebook. We can't broadcast on Facebook, so we have to come here. So I need subscribers. I want to get to the 100,000. You know what, Baumhoff? You're real funny. A capuchin monkey has a bigger intellect than me. This is what makes me not like you. This is what makes me not like you, Mr. Baumhoff. Ah, boy. So, folks, if anyone can, listen, I'm a little reserved about who I get as a guest. And believe me, I've been running into some problems, and I'm not really going to get into it. But I guess certain people out there in the broadcast world don't want to be very friendly with other broadcasters or be on anybody else's show, and it hurts because if a broadcaster called and asked me to anything, listen, the Butch Holcomb Relic Roundup, it's already on. I broke into their show a little bit. They're great. I call them. They need anything from me, I want to do it for them. But certain people, I try and get guests, and they refuse to even answer me. Oh yeah, get Gary Drayton. Yeah, there's one right there. God forbid Gary Drayton talk to somebody like me, somebody who tries to be humble and be just like everybody else, because I don't act like I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, they don't need to be scared. I'm going to come on here and give them a great interview. But you know what? People think they're too good for others in this world. I hope nobody thinks I'm like that, because you know what? I'm not. Anybody on this page calls me, I'm going to answer the phone. Anybody needs something, I'm going to do my best to help them out. I don't sit there and talk about how I'm on Oak Island all the. Oh, I'm on Oak Island. Please. No. So getting guests is getting people I don't know as guests, and I like having people that are on our page coming on. Oh my God, it's cracked me up. But I'm gonna stay off of that rant because there's so much more, and I don't want to out people. But you know what? You got a friggin' YouTube channel, okay? You're not the first person to land on the moon, okay? You have a YouTube channel. That's it. What's my number? Yeah. Oh, you want listen, Roger? You need me. You send me a Facebook message. You need to call me. I'm going to give you my phone number. I want one person out there to say besides Baumhoff or Don Wendt, to say they tried to call me, and I didn't. I didn't help them. So, and Barb said, Riley, I'll look into him if he's on YouTube. I'll try, but for some reason, they don't want to, and it's a shame. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. I'm going to thank everybody for being here. Please like the broadcast. Please like the Riley Bryant. Okay, so please like the broadcast. Please subscribe. Please send me money in the form of cash. All the money you've got. The way. Yeah, Barb, if you want to do that and you can get him on here, I'll be more than glad to talk to him. So if you don't know, honestly, folks, you need to send me money. I need to pledge money. It's all in the name of Jesus. Jesus told me to tell you to send me money. That's it. Yes. That's why I need everybody to send me money and large denomination bills. So please send your $20 donation to the Church of Steve, and that will ensure you a place in heaven. Okay, it will ensure you in a place. Money, not monopoly money. All right, Bitcoin. Oh yeah, no, don't send. I want cold cash. Bitcoin, nothing. Guys, silver. I know we're all watching it. Everyone talks about it. I watch Josh Kimmel's show all the time. They're talking about the price of silver. Personally, I think it's stabilized at this price for a while. I think it's going to stay at about $80, give or take. I think gold's going to stay at about 49, $5,000, give or take. It's a good thing. You know, you find a dime. That's a $7, $7 coin. Find a silver dime, you're there. Folks, this is all. You know what? Why? All right. My new guest host is going to be Barbara Eden as I Dream of Jeannie. Why can't I play it again? Oh, there we go. Come on. Tell me you never watched this show and was like, yeah. And you know what? She still looks good to this day. All right, then it's Bitcoin 67,000. Send me one. Everybody needs to just send me one Bitcoin per person. You know what the problem is? I start to get goofy, and you people are still sitting here watching me. So who's goofier, me or you? Tim Lynch. Good video the other night, man. You guys are the best. Tim Lynch is the best. And I want to have him on the show. He promised me when he retires, he's coming on the show. And I'm on countdown mode. The day that guy retires, he's coming on the show. You know what? I'll go to his house and get him. I'll do an on the road show at his house, and I'll make him feed me. That's what I'll do. I'll make him feed me. He could feed me, my friend. Make Debbie my new co-host. No, my wife is not coming. Oh, I got KG token. No, dude, I got him, and I forgot. I went on the beach the other day. I forgot to take him. I would have been throwing them everywhere. These things are going to be up and down on the beach in New Jersey. I want to see somebody go, ooh, I found one. All right, so I'm done being goofy. I got stuff to do, and I want to say goodnight. Everybody, thanks again. See, I just don't like hitting that end button. I don't like hitting that off button. Trust me, that crossed my mind. So we're out. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week.